Okay, well, welcome everyone to the meeting of Bronx Community Board Aging Committee. I'm Lisa Dow, Chair of the committee, and I look forward to this meeting. And Rita, you are, oh, but you're muted. Hold on a second.
Still muted.
Actually, well, that's Rita Lowe.
Well done.
Member and a committee member. Myra? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Myra Joyce. I'm vice chair of this committee.
Great. And our other committee member from the board is Lee.
Hi, I'm Lee Chong,
Hi, Lee.
Great.
Georgia, and Margaret.
Oh, right.
Hello, I'm here.
That's Georgia Santiago, a member. And
Georgia.
you want to say hi?
Hi, dear.
Margaret.
Hi, Georgia.
Okay. This is great. It always feels like a reunion, even on Zoom. That's great. Miriam. You wanna just introduce.
Yes, Miriam Rabnev, Cultural Sensitivity Liaison and Outreach Coordinator from MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care.
Great. Thank you, Julie.
Hi, Julie Dalton. You know me from RSS Center for Ageless Living.
Great. Thank you. And Andrea?
Hi, Andrea Cassidy, ditto, Deputy Director, Center, RSS Center for Ageless Living.
Great. And Bela. Hello. Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, I'm Bayla Butler, and I'm the director of the Am Park Senior Service Office.
Right, that's our One Nork in Bronx Community Board 8. That's for people who don't know. And do we have anyone else waiting? Now, I think people from other centers will be joining us soon. But in the meantime, let's get started with the program, and let me introduce briefly our speakers. As you know, we at our September meeting, we were deciding on what we wanted to focus on this year, and ageism was one of those areas, and also ageism in healthcare, which is one of our focus areas. And today we're going to be talking about the intersection of age, race, and healthcare. And of course, who would I turn to but the New York Academy of Medicine, whose focus is on, I guess it's health equity would be the term to use. And our speaker is Ilana Kiefer, right pronunciation?
Yep, perfect.
And we met Ilana before when she introduced us to the image system, which is a demographic system. I think that was before our summer break. And so Ilana is the director of the New York Academy of Medicine Center for Healthy Aging. She has 15 years experience in working in a wide range of older adult services with a focus on project management, program development, and sales and marketing. Prior to her time at the Academy, she worked at the New Jewish Home and at MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care. She also worked in affordable and market rate senior housing in Boston. She has an MBA in nonprofit management with a concentration in aging services from the Heller School of Brandeis University. And also joining us is Allison Cook, who, my apologies, I had a typo on our agenda. And I put the wrong acronym for your degree, but Ilana has an MBA, a Master of Public Health, right? Master's in Public Health. I think I had MBA on the agenda, something like
For
that.
me, who are we talking? For me. Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, okay.
Yay. So Allison's the founder of a consulting firm, Better Aging and Policy Consulting, which strives to create systems that enable quality lives for both older adults and those who provide services for them. She's experience is very broad, including being a healthcare worker, a home health aide she worked in national nonprofits, advocacy, counseling individuals, does policy research and analysis. So that's quite varied background, which gives her a different perspective. She has a master's of public health with a focus on aging and policy from Brown University. And with that, I'm sorry that more of our members haven't shown up yet, but if we don't want to keep everybody. So Ilana, Allison, if you'd like to start the discussion, your presentation, and there'll be plenty of time for questions.
Great.
Yes,
So
I think I'll start, right?
Let me just, I have a little agenda just to get people to
sure.
kind of, so I'll just share a few slides and then I'll turn it over to you. So hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, where did my PowerPoint go? Hold on one moment. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, show on this. Okay. So I'm going to change to slideshow. Okay, can you see all the slides or just one slide? Oh, wait,
All of them.
how about now?
One
Several.
slide with,
Okay.
You see
We
two,
also
like
s-
multiple slides?
we
We
see.
see one slide with the next slide and the notes.
Oh, that's not good. How about now?
Now.
Just one
perfect.
slide.
Wonderful. All right. So thank you all so much for having both me and Allison here today. As I said, it's really lovely to see familiar faces and new faces. So I'm going to turn it over to Allison in a moment, but I just wanted to kind of give everyone a little context for why we're here today. In addition to our very impressive bios and our aging expertise. So, but we're gonna first do just brief introductions ourselves, and then Allison's gonna talk about ageism in healthcare, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of a deep dive based on this Image NYC map that Lisa mentioned, specifically about your community board and different resources that are available to address some of the different topics that we're talking about, and then of course we'll have a Q&A. So I just wanted to first just give a little, in addition to everything that Lisa said about me, Community Board 8 is actually very special to me personally. For anyone that was on the call, whenever I was on the call, it might have been like a year or two ago now. Does anyone know what this is a picture of just by this?
Looks like the amalgamated.
It's very close. It's actually the Shalom
Shalom
Aleichem
Aleichem.
houses
Is it the
on
Shalom
Sedgwick,
Aleichem?
and Giles Place, or Giles Place. I never know how you pronounce it. So it's right here. So this is actually where my grandmother Esther lived basically her entire life. Her name is Esther Nelson, and my mom and aunt grew up here. We have a really strong connection to Community Board 8. My grandmother lived on a 4th floor walk up until the age of 91.
Wow.
And her parents helped to establish this community when they moved here from Russia a very long time ago. So I'm particularly excited to be speaking to you today. And my grandmother Esther is actually one of the key reasons why I became excited about the field of aging and older adults. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Allison. And Allison, I'll stop sharing my screen and you can, and then I'll come back in a little bit.
Hi, everyone. While I am working to share my screen, I will just add that I am a proud Bronx
Yes.
resident. I live actually on the border of Van Ness and Morris Park. So I'm in Community Board 11. I'm probably just going to, you'll see the slides on the slide on the corner here, but you could still see the main slide fine, right?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to be able to see everyone's video. So I'm just going to dive right into it since we already did introductions. If anyone has questions while I'm speaking, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask the question as we go along. Here we go. So what is ageism? I'm sure most people here are probably familiar, but I want to set the stage to make sure we're all understanding the same thing. So the first definition here is pretty straightforward. Ageism occurs when people face stereotypes, prejudice, or discrimination because of their age. But I think the second definition provides some helpful examples to think about what that means in real life. Ageism ranges from everyday microaggressions, like assuming older adults don't understand technology, to more systemic discrimination, like being rejected from a job due to age. So what we really wanted to talk about today is how prevalent is ageism and how does it affect our health? I'm going to be talking more from a high level nationally, and of course, as Alana said, then she'll dive into some of the resources within your community board. So what I did, since I didn't want to just throw a bunch of numbers at you, is I put together some multiple choice questions. I don't know, let me see if I could see everyone here. Yes, I could see most people. So since I don't think we have the chat, I am going to ask people to, maybe those who have their camera on, you can answer the multiple choice question by just putting up your finger for which option.
Mhm.
So the first one, what percent of Americans over 50 experience ageism? So A would be 1, B would be 2, C 3, D 4. Let's see, a 3, a 4, 3 or 4. So it's D, 93%. So that means just about everyone over 50 has experienced some sort of ageism, which really shows we have a systemic problem within our society. Now, what percent of Americans over 50 experience ageism specifically in healthcare settings? Let's see, a 4, everyone's guessing a 4. Well, close. It's C, 20%. So that means 1 in 5 people experience ageism while they are in a healthcare setting. That's a huge percentage and very concerning. This is going to give people a 50-50 chance of getting it right. It's a true-false question. Experiencing ageism negatively impacts your physical and mental health.
Mhm. True.
Yes, everyone, that was a pretty easy one. True. So there's all these studies that show that there's actually, there's a clear impact on health, both physical and mental. They see that 4 years down the road, those who have experienced more extreme forms of ageism and more consistent forms of ageism are more likely to have a disability, are more likely to be in poor health. And then another true false, this is, I think, another easy one. Ageism and racism are unrelated occurrences. Yes, I see that. False. Correct. There are some very depressing studies out there. One recent one, for example, was that people with dementia, who are largely older adults, were during the pandemic were much more likely to get COVID. Then, if you broke it down by race, Black individuals with dementia were twice as likely than white individuals with dementia to get COVID. Just one small example of how all of these pieces trickle down. So we really know that ageism and racism kind of compound the impacts on health that an individual would experience. Now, the last multiple choice question, which is the one that was most mind-blowing for me, was that there are some really smart economists that estimated how much our healthcare system spends each year due to ageism. What do you think it is? Put up your finger so I can see. Okay, we got across the board. Everyone's just guessing. So it's C, $63 billion a year. Just imagine what we could spend that money on. It's kind of mind-boggling. And that's due to providing additional services that someone doesn't need or not enough services due to ageist assumptions. So these numbers are kind of depressing, to be honest. We know that ageism and racism are both huge problems that our society faces today. And that brings me to, I'm the type of person, I'm always looking for, okay, so what can I do about it? What's next? And I think, first of all, we're taking the first step already. Educate yourself and others about ageism. There are so many assumptions and, sorry, you're gonna hear my dog in the background a little bit. There are so many assumptions and just cultural attitudes embedded in our society that sometimes people don't even realize what they're saying is ageist. So educating yourself is and others is the first step. The second one, especially when you're thinking about health, is find healthcare providers who actually listen to you, if possible. I know that is much easier said than done. Sometimes that involves a lot of time and kind of shopping around for the right providers. But for whatever reason, whether it's ageism or being overwhelmed or poor scheduling, not having a doctor that truly listens to your concerns is really can impact your health, prevent you from getting the services you need. The next one is encourage all healthcare providers to become age-friendly certified. There are a bunch of national organizations that are working with healthcare systems to implement policies that really make sure that they are age-friendly. I put a link in here. What I can do is share the slides after. So if you want to get any additional information to look into any of this, you can. Almost done here. Fourth is learn how to productively call out ageism, either when you experience it or witness it. I put one helpful resource here. Some of you may have heard of Ashton Applewhite. She is a great New York City-based author who originally became well known for her really fun blog called Yo, Is This Ageist? And she put together the Old School Anti-Ageism Clearinghouse that has amazing resources for how to identify and confront ageism. And then finally, and this is the one that I love the most, organize and participate in intergenerational activities that can dispel some of the myths around ageism. I can say from experience, my attitude towards aging is very different than my husband's. I grew up in very close relationships with my grandparents, really seeing that aging isn't all of those negative stereotypes that we might associate with it. And he did not have those close relationships with older adults in his life. And it was only more recently when he started to develop a closer relationship with my adopted grandmother that he started kind of questioning some of those assumptions he may have had. So I'm going to wrap it up there so you have plenty of time to hear from Alana about some of the more local resources, but I hope that this set the stage for what Alana will share, and you have my contact information here as well. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Allison.
Any quick questions or clarifications from Allison before I jump into it? No.
No.
Okay. So let me go back to sharing my screen. Let's see if I can do it faster this time. Yes, I can. All right. So once again, we're going to current slide. I'm going to switch it. Swap percentage. Okay, now you can just see one screen, correct? One slide. Okay. So let me see if I can see more of you now. Okay. So very briefly, the New York Academy of Medicine, we're located in East Harlem. Our vision is that everyone has the opportunity to live a healthy life. And our mission, why we do the work that we do, is to drive progress towards improved health through attaining health equity. And this is just a picture of our beautiful building on 5th Avenue and 103rd Street, right on Museum Mile. And specifically at the Center for Healthy Aging, where I work, our mission is to improve the health and well-being of both current and future aging populations. And you can see here kind of the different ways that we do that work and the different aspects of aging and caregiving that we work on at our center. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about the Image NYC map because I know many of you were on the meeting last time I was here. But for anyone that is new or would like a refresher, one of the tools that we've developed in the last several years is called Image NYC, the Interactive Map of Aging. And you can see here, it's an open source map of New York City's current and projected population of typically people 65 and older, although sometimes that number changes depending on the data. And Image provides an overlay of resources, services, and amenities. So you're looking at both kind of sociodemographics of older adults, plus services and resources. So you can see in this picture here already on the left-hand side, I outlined Community Board 8. It's outlined in the black here. It's made up of essentially three neighborhoods. And you can see here already, this map is showing us a lot of things. It's showing us do you see how the different kind of, not squares, but different shapes or slightly different shades of blue? That's showing you different numbers of the percentage of older adults in that neighborhood. So for example, in the North River, officially it's called North Riverdale, Fieldston, Riverdale. We could just call it Riverdale for today's purposes. Almost 27% of the population is 65 and older. And you can see kind of the legend here that shows that to you. I don't actually, you know what, I can pull up the numbers somewhere, but you can see the lighter the blue means the lower the number. So kind of in the kind of more bottom part, it's a little bit lighter blue. So that means in Van Cortlandt Village, which is what that's outlining, it's probably, I don't remember the exact number, but it's probably somewhere like 11%. So that's just one, and then there's all these different kind of colorful icons around the map, and that's showing you where there are local older adult centers, where there are congregate meal sites, where there are Section 202 housing sites, and many other different things. So that's just one example of what this map looks like, and we can do a whole session, and we're actually providing some free trainings on using the map, if that's of all of interest to you. And again, I'll send these slides so you can have all these links as well. So I did a little research on your lovely community board, and I just wanted to just kind of give some quick facts about the 65 plus population. About 21% of the total Community Board 8 population is 65 and older. About 13% actually live below the poverty line. What is this about? This is an average because it's kind of from the different neighborhoods, but on average, about 42% of voters age 65 and older voted in the 2021 mayoral election. And you can see here, this is actually a map that shows that as well. This is just from our Image NYC map. So obviously we just had another election last week. That's something that we really kind of push, and I'm sure you are all aware of and pushing for too, is civic engagement among older adults. And obviously voting is the most kind of concrete way of ensuring civic engagement. This is an interesting one. 60%, again, on average, live alone. So I imagine social isolation has come up as a common topic in this board, particularly with the pandemic. And obviously living alone does not necessarily equate to someone being socially isolated, but it could be a marker. And so this is one way of just saying, okay, let me look at the map and see where there are high rates of older adults living alone. We may just want to kind of pay particular attention in those areas to make sure that people have resources for socialization. About 65% speak Spanish and speak English, let's say, with less than very well, which is actually a term from the Census Bureau. It's not a term that we came up with. So again, when people are thinking about providing services and resources, that's a relatively high percentage of older adults that speak Spanish. So if we're providing information about local older adult centers or about voting, we just want to make sure that they're in the languages that are commonly spoken in the different neighborhoods. About 30% have a disability, and that encompasses many different types of disabilities. And the image map actually breaks it down more specifically. And depending on the neighborhood, it's really different. Let's say in Riverdale versus Van Cortlandt Village, but kind of within that, you have quite a range of about as small as 7% and as high as actually a quarter of older adults in Community Board 8 are Black. And then there's also data on people who are Hispanic and people who are Asian. Again, I'm just giving you a little flavor. And here's again a picture of the map showing in Van Cortlandt Village that actually almost 24% of older adults identify as Black. So that's just a lot of kind of data to have you mull over. And again, it's not directly related to what Allison was talking about in terms of ageism, but we all know that there's lots of intersectionality between ageism and racism and classism and ableism and all these different things. So it's just helpful to have some hard numbers in the work that you all are doing in order to get the resources that the older adults in Community Board 8 need. So in addition to the Image NYC map, which again, I'm happy to go more into or to provide a training on specifically, one of the other projects that we have at NIAM is what's called the Older Adults Equity Collaborative. It's funded by the Administration for Community Living, which is the federal arm. It used to be called the Administration on Aging. And what they're doing is in our role, we bring together a number of different national nonprofit organizations that specialize in different minority populations that are aging and or caregiving. So it's kind of hard to see in this little graphic that we have, but it's made up of the National Indian Council on Aging, focusing on older Native Americans, the National Asian Pacific Center on Aging, focusing on Asian Americans, the National Caucus for Black Aging, SAGE, focusing on LGBT older adults, and then MHP Salud, which focuses on Latino older adults. So all these different organizations, we bring them together on a regular basis. And I just want you might know about many of these organizations already, but also want you to know that one of the cool things we do with this project is we put together a resource library. And again, I'll make sure you get these links. So if you, let's say, let's just take the example that, in Van Cortlandt Village, about a quarter of older adults are African American. So these different resources are by topic area, not by racial population, but all of the resources here are geared towards older adults and caregivers who identify as some type of minority. And so let's say, you're in your community board, you're focusing on you want to kind of address the issue of dementia. Let's just say, for example, you can go to our resource library. It's completely free. It's totally public. You can see here we have 7 articles in this category. I don't actually know if there's one related to older African Americans that have dementia, but there very well might be if there's kind of specific cultural considerations to consider or whatnot. We have many different topics. This is just kind of one snippet. So I encourage you to check it out. Also, if you have some resources that you find are useful, please send them my way because we are constantly adding to this resource library. Okay, I'm going to stop. We wanted to make sure we leave time for questions and discussion. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, both for me and for Allison. Again, these are all kind of just like various things to get you continuing to think about these different topics. And we'd just love to hear any thoughts or questions that you all have.
I'll jump in. Well, I know that actually, Lee, you might have more information. I know that Lee is with RSS besides the community board and on the social action committee. And one of the topics I heard at one of the meetings was on caregivers and pay equity for caregivers.
Yeah,
which
we
also
we actually marched on City Hall in the summertime over this issue.
Right. So I guess that's one area, since many paid caregivers, as well as all of us, as daughters or sons, whatever, or loved ones, care for people. But as paid caregivers, it tends to lean towards people of color, immigrants, I don't know if you have anything to add on that. Are you involved? I know there's certain organizations that are,
Allison's bread and butter.
Yes, yes. So before I started doing consulting full time, I was at PHI, the Paraprofessional Healthcare Institute, and they're the national experts on the direct care workforce, including home care workers, nursing assistants in nursing homes, and others in various long-term care settings. So I have a whole lot I can share, but I think when we're thinking about what we deem as worthy of public investment in our long-term services and support system, not only are these paid workers caring for people that tend to be undervalued, mostly older adults and people with disabilities, but as you were sharing, these workers themselves are largely women, people of color, and especially in New York City, immigrants, all populations who have been undervalued. And when all of that combines, just like I was saying, how ageism and racism has a compounding effect, when all of those things come together, that's why these workers who many times require a certification in order to do their jobs have been at or around minimum wage. In New York, we just in the last budget, we got some increase in pay that was effective October 1st, but it wasn't the full amount that advocates were calling for, a true living wage. And the way that it was implemented, especially within our Medicaid system, made it very challenging for the money to actually get down to the workers themselves. So I could talk about this stuff forever. I will stop myself there.
Can I ask a question, Lisa, regarding that? Allison and Ilana, would the pay increase be considered an expense funding item under the city's budget?
So the pay requirement came from the state, not from the city.
Oh, okay.
And most of the funding for the public funding that goes towards home care is Medicaid, which is also from the state. There's only a small amount through the city, which is mostly through the area agencies on aging, through through DFTA, the Department for the Aging, the ISEP program.
Oh, all right, because Live On New York is requesting something of, senior aging, aging committees throughout, I guess, the city of New York to put in expense requests.
Oh,
And, and the application is due.
For the people's money?
Yeah, it's only
participatory budgeting.
That's the participatory budgeting.
Yeah.
And then,
budget. And it's like, I guess it's similar to participatory budget, but it's geared to apparently just senior issues. And it's due, the applications are due, I think Thursday, November 17th. Is that it, Julie?
yes, that's it. And Live On is encouraging, constituents and providers, to fill out that survey. But also what you might be thinking of too, Lee, is that in the fiscal 23 city budget, the council did award $60 million in what they call workforce investment.
Right.
Now, the issue for us is how that will roll out to all the agencies, because that's across the board, across sectors, across the whole city. And as we all know, DFTA's budget is less than 0.5% of the total budget. So how that will trickle down. So that's not just home care workers. That's all, that money is intended for all human services workers.
And this amount of money, according to the email, is $5 million in public funding, but it doesn't say what agencies are going to get it.
Correct. I think it's a mechanism to get on the ground input on how the government should spend
This
money.
$5 million.
Right. I think it's the money that the council members used to have to get community input on how it's spent. Yeah.
I think it's an addition because I think each council member has their own budget and they allocate to their
This, you're right, the CEC, yeah. Oh, any other questions for our speakers, Alana and Allison? I was playing with the image system, so I'm glad, and also looking at it for our community board, comparing it to the city, and it's interesting to break it down by Riverdale North, Riverdale, Kingsbridge, and Spuyten Duyvil are together. And then we have Van Cortlandt and Marble Hill. But the Marble Hill data, and Georgia, you might be interested, it actually combines it with Inwood, which I believe, which is very different, and it's going to get even more dense with mandatory inclusionary housing going up in that neighborhood. But and Van Cortlandt also is closer to, I think the Van Cortlandt Village goes up towards outside of our district, but goes up towards the Veterans Hospital. I think it goes all the way up there. But the data still is very telling, and the difference in the communities. But the one thing that, Alana, you mentioned that's very similar is about, all the communities, including Inwood, whatever, is between 50 and 60% of older adults live alone.
Yep.
And that was very telling to me. That was actually one of the 4 subjects, in addition to health and racism, was about talking about older adults living alone. So I think we'll definitely tackle that perhaps at the next meeting, and one of the issues, especially with housing,
Yeah,
that comes up.
absolutely.
Let's see, any other questions for our speakers on anything more specific on race, care? Lydia, is that a raise?
Question, because you brought up housing, senior housing, and I think, Elena, you said you worked or you had data on 202 housing. Do we have any sense, is there adequate 202 housing in CB8, or do we need more?
I think the short answer is there's never adequate affordable housing anywhere in New York City. Let me just take a quick look.
I know they built a 202 on Broadway across the street from Stop and Shop.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I believe that's a 202. Does anyone know for sure?
Stop and Shop? I'm not familiar. I mean, I know
On Broadway?
we have Broadway and Marshall. We have two affordable housings. We have Sherview.
It's specifically a 202 that was
It's-
built by HUD.
That building across from Stop and Shop is a trend.
Oh, it's a transitional.
What, transitional housing
okay.
for
That's not what I thought it was.
homeless
All right.
families.
According to the image map, it looks like there are officially in CB8 3 202 buildings. One is Riverdale Elder Housing on 6477 Broadway.
Mm,
One is Hudson House on Johnson Avenue.
mhm.
Schervier.
Shervier.
What is it?
It's
Sure.
Shervier.
Shervier, yeah.
On Independence.
Mhm.
And then right below the kind of southernmost tip of Community Board 8 is West Kingsbridge Senior Housing on University Avenue. So,
Yeah.
I believe all of them are very old,
Yeah.
not newly built.
Well, we also have a new one on Broadway next to, the elderly, that's the old name for it, but on Marshall New, it was the organization. Myra, do you remember? Was it?
I know
It
exactly
wasn't
what building
self-help.
you're talking about.
Self-help. was-
oh, it was
you.
self-help. It was self-help
It
building?
was self-help.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miriam. Yes, the self-help. It's not a section, anything.
Right, and there's actually, sorry, what?
No, that's fine. It was handled different than other senior housing.
Right, and there's actually there hasn't been any new section 202 housing in like 10 years because the funding ran out. So now there's like low-income housing tax credits, and there's other ways of building affordable housing, but there's definitely, unfortunately, never enough.
Right.
I just wanted to say 2 quick things. I know you have other agenda items. Number 1 is, has anyone heard about the master plan for aging, the executive order that Governor Hochul just passed?
Mhm.
So on 2 weeks ago Governor Hochul issued an executive order, basically saying that New York State is going to undergo a 10-year master plan for aging to really better and thoughtfully and carefully figure out how the state is going to address our many aging issues and caregiving issues over the next decade. So they're really looking for a lot of stakeholder input. So just kind of keep your ears open for that. It'll kind of be getting started soon, that process. It's going to be led by the State Department of Health and State Office for the Aging. And then I'm just going to put in a plug that tomorrow evening, we're having an event. Lisa, were you going to say that?
That was going to be the first thing on my report. So
Oh, perfect. And Myra is actually one of our featured speakers at the event. It's called Then and Now, The Opportunities and Challenges of Healthy Aging in New York City. It's going to be starting at 5 o'clock on Zoom, so you don't have to go anywhere. And we have interviewed 6 older adults across New York City, including Myra, who are just kind of talking about living in New York now, living in New York before, what they've observed, how it feels. And then we're also having 2 professors responding to those interviews as well. So I will make sure that you all have the link. I'll send it to Lisa and you can share it around if you want to register. And I'll also send the Image NYC link and a few other things. So
right. Everyone can just go to www. I always feel funny saying NYAM.
Yep, org. Yep.
And find all the information that was discussed. Thank you both. Appreciate your
Thank you all for the work you're doing.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and good luck tomorrow, Alana.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I
Hey everyone, it's getting dark. I might have to disappear and turn a light on here to read my notes.
I just forwarded you the master plan from Hochul.
Oh, great. Thank you. Terrific. We'll get that to everybody who's interested. Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Just a few announcements you probably know, but to make sure everyone knows, the Metro cards are going to be available. Reduced fare Metro cards will be available on OMNY. So you can.
They are.
What's
They
that?
are already. I signed up.
Great. So you don't have to have a separate card. You can put it on your phone if you have a smartphone and just, put it next to those devices that they just put on the buses and subway entrances. At the September meeting, I announced that there was going to be a second round of the DIFTA My Ride, which is it's sort of call in for a car as opposed to Access-a-Ride, but they canceled it. So there is no more DIFTA My Ride, at least for now. There wasn't a lot of information. They just said for safety reasons. So that's gone now. But let's see. The Department for the Aging, DIFTA, is trying to move away from their acronym for promotional reasons. So I'm sure people at the centers saw that. And thank you, Sharon, for letting me know about that, which makes sense. I wish all the departments would get rid of all the acronyms, but it's now going to be referred to, especially on social media, as NYC Aging. So people know what people are talking about when they say DIFTA. I don't really have anything else. Everyone knows that there's an increase in Social Security and SSI payments this year, starting in 2023, going up 8.7%, not enough to pay for housing, a huge housing shortage for people on fixed income and people with lower incomes, of course. So, but it's something.
Yes.
So with that, let me just see. Any reports from our service providers, from the centers, older adult centers, not senior centers, that anyone would like to mention? Oh, Myra, you have.
No, I just want to say, besides the increase in Social Security, the monthly Medicare premium is going down by about $5. So I'm happy this year.
Thank you. Is there anything from the centers that anyone would like to discuss, or from Miriam or Bela, anything to highlight? Not putting anyone on the spot. Only if you'd like to share.
Well, I'll just say, like I did at the last meeting, we're continuing to serve our clients. We are still challenged by the number of people that come back on site. So, I mean, that's a challenge for us. We have very robust virtual programs for which we're grateful. So what we found is that if we do some very special events, so we've done 2 recently, on November 6th, which is a Sunday, we did like a flea market. Over 150 people attended. We raised about $1,000 of selling stuff, and we did lunch. And then a few weeks before that, we had an art exhibit, Creativity During the Pandemic. And it was an art show of all work that had been created by our members while, they were all done on Zoom. So that, again, that brought in, I think, over 100 people. That really wasn't a fundraiser, but it gave us a lot more traffic and people in it. And so I think, but our regular like core group of folks that like used to come and stay all day, they're not coming back for a variety of reasons. So that's a challenge for us.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I looked online. I couldn't believe the artwork. I was wowed by it.
Yes, and if I could just make one plug, we are doing an online fundraising event called Klimt Portraits and Patterns, which is, it's a lecture for a $50 donation. It's virtual. And if you wanted also to have the workshop, which is a small group art lesson with April Lombardi, who's very well known, that's $150. And that's a donation because a contribution. So that's on our website if people wanted to spread the word about that.
Yeah. Thank you. I just verified the date that we're going to actually have a presentation about the cards, the Metro cards on December 6th here at the center. Plus people will be able to apply on December from 1 to 3. So anybody can come on that day
Great.
at RSS.
Thank you.
Andrea, can you, if I shoot you an email, can you tell me who the presenter is and how we can contact them so we can get them to present at the Y also?
Excellent. Will do.
Okay,
Sharon.
thanks.
Yeah, be very helpful. Yeah, will do.
That would be great. I'd love it too. One of the things that has really come up at the NORC is food insecurity. We have a pantry that comes once a month, and from 40 people to well over 100 people coming in. And in fact, we partnered with the pantry at the Riverdale Y to address those seniors who were just not able to get food this month.
Yeah, so it's in different neighborhoods, obviously, as well. I sit on the executive board of WICOA, which is the Washington Heights and Inwood Coalition. And we have internally agreed that we want to address food insecurity and reach out from outside the circle of just our agencies and senior centers to engage community organizations, synagogues, etc. And I think because we're all looking for the same thing for our clients, I think we should form a larger coalition so that together we can A, brainstorm, and B, integrate our outreach and not grab away from each other's locations the food, so that we widen the circle and include all of our clients. So if you're interested, once I know what WICOA is doing, I'd be very happy to share it with you, and so that we can really collaborate in a more wide circle.
Miriam, yeah, RSS had done some work around food insecurity. We formed a coalition a while ago to address food insecurity in the Kingsbridge, Marble Hill area. The coalition has, it's morphing into a little bit something else, more of a partnership. But we were thinking of having a larger coalition meeting very shortly to bring this issue, especially now since food prices are so high. And we anticipate an increase in food insecurity as a result of it. So Lisa, I guess if it's okay, if we bring that coalition back together again, it was basically KHCC, St. Stephen's United Methodist Church.
Mhm.
Chervier was involved, even Marble Hill Older Adult Center was involved, Out of Seat Shadow Project. So we've been looking at widening that
Mhm.
coalition to really talk about how can we come together in a more collaborative way to address food insecurity right now. So I'll be talking with some folks down the line, Miriam. So if I
Great, great. I'll
Yeah.
be happy to bring it
Great.
forth and also to share some resources. I find it so ridiculous that it's limited to Washington Heights or Inwood, or people are hungry, people don't have food. And I think we have to put our heads together and our resources also and our outreach to create a net.
Mm. I know outreach was also one of the focus areas for this committee that we talked about in September. So that's great. Any kind of group effort will help. Sharon?
I just, since you're talking about outreach, I was on the subway the other day, and for the first time in my career, in my life, I saw an ad for DIFTA services. And so they came up with an outreach campaign, and they're actually doing it. There was subway advertising.
Excellent.
Yeah. I'm sorry, folks. I have to sign off. I don't mean to be rude. I am glad that I could join. I thank you for the presenters. I look forward to the next meeting. And I want to just also mention a new book that came out, Ageism Unmasked, by Tracy Granson, I believe is her name. Look it up. I heard her present on it, and it was a very apropos to today's topic and very helpful, even for me, in terms of my realizing that I use ageism metaphors or ideas as I describe myself. And so I just wanted to recommend that book, Ageism Unmasked.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We only have a short time left. Mr. Beza, I will get back to you actually, let's discuss this now. Mr. Beza, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, so you're in two places on the Zoom screen. That's fine. We were hoping that somebody from the JASA Senior Center would join us, as well as Marshall Montefiore. But I think Mr. Beza wanted to bring something up regarding the JASA Center on Sedgwick Avenue, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a member of it. The JASA is housed in the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center, and I'm a member of the congregation there. I just want to inform you that they're planning on selling the building, which means that JASA will no longer be there. And that's been a lifeline for the seniors of the community. And it's not necessary to sell it. I'm opposed to selling it. And one of the ways I'd like to impede the sale of that synagogue is to inform the community. So that's essentially what I wanted to say.
Great, thank you. I don't think we have any information about the sale or that we could intercede with it. What I can say, I know it's not a big help, and again, I don't know what's going on. I don't.
No, of course, I totally get that. I totally get that. Of course you don't.
Right.
This is new information to you.
Okay, and this is for certain that the property is for sale?
Again?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear what you just asked.
Are we certain that the property is for sale?
Yeah, I am actually. I am.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yes,
Mhm.
they're planning on selling it.
Right, well, hopefully, JASA will find an alternative location in that area. I mean, I looked online doing some research, and I see there's also a preschool there that Marshall Montefiore.
Correct, that's correct,
manages.
that's
So
correct.
they're going to also be, besides the congregants, of course, we'll be looking for alternative spaces if that goes through. We did bring this to the attention of our land use chair just to get more information. I think you'll see here that there are many different communities that could be of assistance should there be a gap in your older adult center. Should they be closing at some point? I believe we have the NORC at Amalgamated, which is close by. And
That's right.
Sharon, does our buses go up towards Sedgwick also for the Riverdale Y?
Yes.
Yes, and we have transportation from our north to the Riverdale Y as well.
Right. And I'm sure that there's also Riverdale Senior Services. So, Mr. Baser, should there be a sale of the property and a gap in anything opening up close by, I know our centers would welcome everybody and do their best to continue the community that you have, although it might not be on their current site. But thank you for raising this. It's serious because it also shows that the centers mean so much to the older adults who live in the community. It's it's lifeline for social.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I thank you. I'm glad that I raised the issue because you told me a lot of information that I really didn't have about NORC and transportation up to the YMHA in Riverdale. So that's kind of comforting to me. Thank you.
And Julie, your bus would also go from around Sedgwick. It's hard. Our east-west transportation is terrible. We get stuck in traffic. It's difficult, but we'll take care of you and your colleagues over at the center should there be a gap. And
Okay.
we're going to be trying to get more information. So thank you. I'm glad you raised this.
Well, thank you as well.
We partner together, to find solutions for the whole community, and we'll keep doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was really good talking with you.
Thank you. And you're welcome to join any of our committees. They're all open to the public.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else that any of our centers would like to bring up? Before we go, have to do minutes or I'll get a slap on the wrist. So from the members, the committee members, does anybody oppose approving the September minutes of the Aging Committee? That's a no. So Georgia, Margaret is a yes, Leah's a yes, Myra's a yes, Rita's a yes, and Lisa's a yes. So approved. Any other new business that anyone would like to bring up?
No.
Okay, motion to adjourn until next time. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
My apologies for being late.
Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, the best holiday.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Lisa.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. You're welcome.
Bye,
Bye.
Georgia. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Margaret.
Bye.